In the last section, we spoke about how we're going to put an Nginx server into our application. Its job is going to be watch for incoming requests and route them off to the appropriate backend server. In order to set up Nginx in this fashion and give it a set of routing rules, we're going to create a file called default.conf. This is a very special file that will be added to an Nginx image that you and I are going to put together. This file is going to add a little bit of configuration to implement that set of routing rules. Now, of course, this is a course about Docker, not quite about Nginx. Nonetheless, I want to tell you a little bit about the configuration we're going to put together, because I really do believe that you're going to end up using Nginx on a majority of Docker-based projects. Maybe not, but I want to at least give you a little bit of knowledge here. So inside of this configuration file, we're going to put down a little bit of configuration that is going to set up all the instructions that you see on the right-hand side. First off, we're going to tell Nginx that there is something called an upstream server at client:3000 and server:5000. Let's break down both those statements right there and kind of quantify what they're trying to communicate. So as we just said a moment ago, Nginx is going to watch for requests from the outside world and then route them to appropriate servers. These servers are kind of behind Nginx. You cannot access these servers unless you go through the Nginx server. And so Nginx refers to these as upstream servers. They are servers that Nginx can optionally redirect traffic over to. Now, in both these statements, you'll also notice that I said there is a server at client:3000 and server:5000. So as a quick reminder, when we put together our initial server implementation, inside the server directory, you'll find that index.js file. At the very bottom of it, you'll see that we are listening on the server on port 5000. So the server is watching for traffic on port 5000, and the client, as a Create React App application, by default listens for traffic on port 3000. So that's where we are getting those two ports from. Create React App by default, port 3000, our server by default, port 5000. Now, the client right there, client:3000 and server:5000, those are both actual addresses. And so client and server are actual kind of like host names, or essentially URLs, that Nginx is going to try to direct traffic to. We are specifically using client and server right there because those are the names of the client and server services that we put together inside of our Docker Compose file. Here's client, and up here is server right here. Remember, anytime you make a Docker Compose file, the different service names are essentially used as kind of like domains of sorts, and you can refer to them in order to access the service that is hosted by this service. So that's why we're going to direct traffic specifically to client:3000 and server:5000. After we put together those two quick definitions, we'll then tell Nginx that it's going to listen by default on port 80. Now remember, this is port 80 inside the container. And so it doesn't really matter if we say port 80 or we say port 5 billion. At the end of the day, when we run our Docker Compose file, we can change the actual port that is more or less exposed to the outside world, or essentially set up that port mapping. After we do that, we'll then set up the two roles that say essentially if anyone comes to the slash or kind of root route, we want to send them to the client upstream. So that's this upstream right here. And if anyone goes to /API, send them to the server upstream. All right, so that's what we're going to do inside this file. I figured it would be